In 1983, amid the bustling heart of Chicago, over $20,900,000 in unmarked cash vanished from a fortified safe in the private office of General Robert Harlan. It seemed impossible. The vault was a Mossler Class 5 behemoth, secured behind layers of military-grade protocols, surveillance cameras and round-the-clock guards, yet the money simply evaporated, leaving no trace but a lingering question: how? Before we dive deeper into this enigma, consider this. What if the greatest threats come not from outsiders but from within the very systems designed to protect us? The year was 1983, a time when Cold War tensions simmered beneath the surface of American life, and Chicago, Illinois, stood as a microcosm of urban grit and institutional power. The city, with its towering skyscrapers piercing the foggy Lake Michigan skyline, was no stranger to corruption scandals. Watergate's echoes still reverberated, fueling public skepticism toward authority. In the military sector, the Illinois National Guard headquarters, known locally as the Chicago Armory, occupied a sprawling red brick complex on the near north side, built in the late 19th century with Gothic arches and iron-barred windows that evoked a fortress more than an administrative hub. Archival footage of 1980 Chicago streets, cars zipping past the Armory's imposing facade under gray skies, slow pan over historical photos of the building's construction. Inside, the Armory buzzed with the rhythm of bureaucracy, clacking typewriters, the murmur of officers in olive-drab uniforms, and the faint scent of gun oil from the adjacent drill halls. General Harlan's office was on the third floor, a sanctum accessible only via a secured elevator or a stairwell monitored by keycard readers. The room itself measured about 20 by 15 feet, furnished sparsely, a mahogany desk scarred from years of use, leather chairs worn at the seams, and bookshelves lined with military manuals and faded maps. The floor was polished oak, creaking underfoot, and lighting came from fluorescent fixtures that cast harsh shadows after hours. A single window overlooked a dimly lit parking lot, where staff vehicles huddled like silent sentinels. At the far wall stood the safe, a Mossler Class 5 vault, dimensions 6 feet high by 4 feet wide by 3 feet deep, weighing over 2 tons. It was bolted into the concrete foundation, its door a slab of reinforced steel with a mechanical combination lock requiring a 6-digit code, supplemented by an electronic keypad for dual-factor authentication, a key fob held only by the general and his immediate aides. Inside, compartments held stacks of cash in sealed bundles, each weighing approximately 20 pounds, totaling hundreds of packets from covert operations funds. Why was such a fortune stored here? According to declassified guard documents, the cash stemmed from a shadowy slush fund tied to anti-communist initiatives in Central America. Harlan, as commander, oversaw disbursements for training exercises that often blurred into off-the-books payments. In an era of Iran-Contra whispers, these funds represented not just money but leverage, hidden from congressional oversight, vulnerable to internal risks like embezzlement or, as it turned out, outright theft. Security was multi-layered. Hallway cameras recorded on VHS tapes, reviewed weekly, entry logs duplicated in both physical ledgers and a nascent computer system. Patrols by 2 guards per shift rotating every 4 hours. The parking lot had floodlights and a chain-link fence, but blind spots existed near the service entrance, where deliveries arrived unchecked after midnight. Archival note: per Illinois National Guard protocols from 1982, all safe accesses required dual signatures and time-stamped entries, with codes changed quarterly. The air in the office carried a musty blend of old paper and cigar smoke, Harlan's vice, while distant traffic hums filtered through the walls, a constant reminder of the city's indifferent pulse. General Robert Harlan, 58, had spent 3 decades climbing the ranks of the National Guard, from a young lieutenant in Korea to commanding the Illinois Division. A tall man with a silver crew cut and a perpetual squint from years under harsh field lights, he projected unyielding authority. Born in rural Illinois, Harlan enlisted at 18 to escape farm life, earning medals for logistics in Vietnam. By 1983, his marriage was strained. His wife, Margaret, battled illness, draining their savings, and whispers of financial woes circulated among staff. Harlan's psychology revealed a man torn between duty and desperation. He confided in a journal entry, "These funds are a curse. Necessary shadows in a world of light, but they weigh on me like lead." Reenactment of Harlan at his desk, leafing through papers under a desk lamp, close up on a worn journal page. His aide, Captain Elena Vasquez, 35, served as the internal accomplice. A sharp-minded logistics officer with access to codes and keys, she had joined the Guard a decade earlier, rising quickly due to her bilingual skills and organizational prowess. Of Mexican-American descent, Vasquez faced subtle biases in a male-dominated environment, fostering resentment. Her motives? A gambling debt from underground poker games in Chicago's backrooms, compounded by a custody battle for her young son. In an intercepted note to herself, "If I don't act now, I'll lose everything. The general trusts me, too much." The organizer, Marcus Thorne, 42, was a former military contractor turned shadowy operative. Discharged dishonorably after a procurement scandal, Thorne operated from Chicago's underworld, leveraging contacts in trucking and security firms. Balding with a scar across his cheek from a bar fight, he exuded calculated calm. His psychology, a thrill-seeker masking insecurity, driven by a need to prove himself after military rejection. "Power isn't in the uniform," he once muttered to an associate, "it's in knowing where the cracks are." Then there was the unexpected witness, Tom Riley, a 52-year-old janitor at the Armory. A Vietnam vet with a limp from shrapnel, Riley worked nights unnoticed like the dust he swept. Widowed and living paycheck to paycheck, his keen eyes caught anomalies, strange vehicles in the lot, muffled sounds from offices. His internal conflict, loyalty to the institution versus a gnawing sense of justice. In a later interview snippet, "I saw the van pull up, no plates. Thought it was routine, until morning." These figures intertwined in a web of motivations. Harlan's fatigue from shadows, clashing with Vasquez's desperation, Thorne's opportunism exploiting Riley's oversight. Moral dilemmas abounded. Vasquez pondered betrayal in quiet moments. Is this freedom or just another chain? Harlan, sensing irregularities, dismissed them as paranoia, his career hanging by a thread. The heist unfolded on the night of July 14, 1983, under a humid Chicago moon. At 1:45 a.m., the night guard, Sergeant Mills, completed his patrol of the third-floor corridor, logging it in the duplicate ledger. One physical book at the desk, another backed up in the main office safe. Normal procedure dictated codes changed every 90 days, with keys distributed to only 3 personnel, Harlan, Vasquez, and the deputy commander. 2:12 a.m., Vasquez, using her keycard, entered the building via the service door, bypassing the main entrance camera by timing it with a scheduled power fluctuation, a known glitch in the aging system. She carried a duffel with tools, an electric grinder for any stuck mechanisms, adhesive straps for bundling, and weighted dummy bags filled with sand to mimic the cache's heft. Tense reenactment, dimly lit hallway, Vasquez swiping her card, close up on the grinder's spark. 2:27 a.m. In Harlan's office, she inputted the code, 847,392, followed by her fob scan. The safe door swung open with a heavy click, revealing stacks of $100 bills and 20-pound bundles, totaling 1,045 packets. Thorne, waiting in a nondescript van in the parking lot's blind spot, monitored via a walkie-talkie smuggled earlier. 2:31 a.m. Substitution began. Vasquez transferred cash into reinforced backpacks, each holding 100 pounds, passing them through a window to Thorne below using a pulley system rigged that afternoon under guise of maintenance. Time per transfer, 3 minutes, total operation window 14 minutes to avoid the next patrol. 2:45 a.m. Dummies in place, identical bundles maintaining weight and appearance. Journals forged, Vasquez backdated an entry as Harlan's routine check, duplicating it across logs. The deviation. A skipped camera loop, achieved by Thorne's accomplice tampering with the VHS recorder earlier, creating a 20-minute blank. Transport, Thorne loaded into a small Ford van, exiting via a rear gate with falsified plates. No alarms triggered. The system's redundancy failed here, as the electronic log wasn't cross-checked until morning. The operation's precision highlighted procedural flaws. While keys were dual-issued, codes weren't rotated if no incidents occurred, and patrols focused on perimeters, not internals. Short breaths in the dark. A creak of floorboards. The safe resealed at 2:59 a.m., just as Mills rounded the corner again. As dawn broke over Chicago, the first twist emerged. Riley, mopping the parking lot at 3:15 a.m., noted the van's departure, tires leaving faint skid marks on the asphalt, not matching any registered vehicle. He jotted it in his personal notebook, a habit from the war. Black Ford, no lights, headed south. But he said nothing, torn between duty and fear of involvement. Police report, initial sweep found no forced entry, safe intact, logs consistent. Yet questions mounted. Where was the cash routed? Harlan discovered the substitution at 8:45 a.m. during a routine audit, his face paling as he hefted a dummy bag, sand spilling like accusations. "This can't be," he whispered, his mind racing to Vasquez's recent absences. Another twist, around 500 words in the safe depths, amid the dummies, lay an overlooked artifact, a faded envelope with coordinates scribbled in Harlan's hand, 41.8781 degrees north, 87.6298 degrees west, pointing to a downtown warehouse. Was it a clue or misdirection? FBI agents, notified at 9:30 a.m., pondered, planted by thieves or Harlan's own secret. The atmosphere thickened with sensory details. The metallic tang of the open safe, the tick of Harlan's antique wall clock marking lost time, cigarette butts in the ashtray from his late-night vigil. Societal context loomed. Reagan's deregulation bred corruption in defense circles, eroding trust. Vasquez's psychology fractured. What if they traced the codes? My son. Thorne, driving away, felt a rush mixed with dread, betrayal's double edge. A third twist. Vasquez, in panic, discarded a handwritten plan in her apartment trash, recovered later by a nosy neighbor hinting at Thorne's involvement. Open queries. Was a guard bribed? Did official channels know? Archival note. FBI memo dated July 15. Internal leak suspected. Monitor all personnel. Tension built in pauses. Silence in the office. A phone rang unanswered. Moral quandaries deepened. Harlan grappled with his oversight. Friendship with Vasquez versus the betrayal's sting. Riley debated reporting. Family needs versus civic duty. Fourth twist. Surveillance tapes, when recovered, showed a glitch not from tampering, but an internal short, coincidence or sabotage. As investigators converged, one final revelation surfaced in the Armory's dumpster. An anonymous envelope, postmarked the day before, containing a single photo of the safe's interior, taken from inside Harlan's office. Scrawled on the back, "The shadows know. If I'm found dead, look to the river." Whose hand? Who sent it, and what secrets did the coordinates hide? The morning of July 15, 1983, broke over Chicago with a humid haze, the city unaware that $20,900,000 had slipped through its veins like a ghost. The discovery of the heist in General Robert Harlan's office at the Illinois National Guard Armory sent shockwaves through the military hierarchy, but the real question lingered. Who could breach a fortress so impregnable, and why was the trail already cold? By 9:45 a.m., the Armory was a hive of controlled chaos. FBI agents, led by Special Agent Daniel Kessler, 44, a wiry veteran with a penchant for chain-smoking camels, descended on the near north side. The crime scene was pristine. No forced entry, no fingerprints, just the eerie presence of sand-filled dummy bags in the Mossler Class 5 safe. Kessler's team noted the safe specs again. 6 feet tall, 4 feet wide, 2 tons of steel, its combination lock untouched, the electronic fob system unbreached. Yet the cash, 1,045 bundles of $100 bills, each 20 pounds, was gone. Agents in trench coats swarming the Armory's Gothic halls. Close up on the safe's gleaming door, a technician dusting for prints. The historical context sharpened the stakes. In 1983, Chicago's political machine was a labyrinth of patronage and payoffs, with the Iran-Contra affair beginning to cast long shadows. The Armory's slush fund, tied to covert operations, was a political landmine. Kessler, aware of the scrutiny, ordered a lockdown of records. This wasn't a smash and grab, he told his deputy, voice low. Someone knew every bolt in this place. Investigators traced the timeline backward. The night guard, Sergeant Mills, confirmed his 1:45 a.m. patrol, logged in both the physical ledger and the computer system. The discrepancy? A 20-minute gap in the VHS footage from 2:25 to 2:45 a.m., attributed to a system glitch. Kessler wasn't buying it. He interviewed Mills, who sweated through his uniform. I walked the halls. Nothing moved. But Kessler's gut screamed insider. Archival note, FBI case file hashtag 83 Chief 472. Initial evidence suggests internal access, keycard logs show. Captain Elena Vasquez entered at 2:12 a.m. The Armory's environment added layers. The third-floor corridor smelled of wax polish and stale coffee, the fluorescent lights buzzing faintly. Outside, the parking lot's chain-link fence rattled in the wind, its blind spot near the service entrance now under scrutiny. Tom Riley, the janitor, mentioned the black Ford van, plateless, southbound at 3:15 a.m. Kessler jotted it down, his pen pausing. Why didn't Riley report it sooner? A search of the service entrance revealed a discarded latex glove, snagged on a fence post, its interior dusted with talcum powder, no prints but a size small, suggesting a woman's hand. Vasquez's name rose higher on Kessler's list. The investigation zeroed in on the key players, each a study in fractured motives. General Harlan, now under internal review, sat rigid in his office, his silver crew cut glinting under the desk lamp. At 58, his career was a house of cards, decades of service marred by whispers of mismanaged funds. His journal, seized by the FBI, revealed a cryptic entry dated July 10. The weight of secrets is heavier than the cash. If they find out, I'm done. Was it guilt, fear, or something else? Harlan's alibi held. He was home by 10 p.m., confirmed by his wife, Margaret, though her illness left her memory foggy. Captain Elena Vasquez, Harlan's aide, faced intense scrutiny. At 35, her sharp features and clipped speech masked a private unraveling. $30,000 in gambling debts, a son in a custody fight. Her keycard logged her entry at 2:12 a.m., but she claimed it was for late paperwork. Kessler pressed her in an interview. You accessed the general's floor at night. Why? Vasquez's eyes flickered. Routine checks. I had clearance. Her internal monologue, as later pieced together from her diary, I didn't want this. But the money, it was the only way to keep him. Marcus Thorne, the shadowy organizer, was harder to pin. Known to Chicago PD as a fixer for hire, his last address was a boarded-up warehouse in Pilsen. A former contractor with military ties, Thorne's discharge papers cited financial irregularities. Kessler's team found a burner phone in a dumpster near the Armory, its call log showing a 2:20 a.m. connection to a number tied to a trucking firm Thorne once worked for. His psychology was predatory: control the board, move the pieces, vanish before dawn. Tom Riley, the janitor witness, became an enigma. At 52, his limp and quiet demeanor hit a sharp memory. He admitted to Kessler, I saw the van, yeah. Didn't think much of it till the news broke. But his hesitation gnawed, fear of reprisal or something deeper. His notebook, handed over reluctantly, detailed oddities. July 12, 11 p.m., same van, parked 20 minutes, no driver. Riley's moral dilemma. Report it and risk my job, or stay quiet and live with the guilt. Reenactment of Kessler flipping through Riley's notebook. Slow zoom on Vasquez's nervous hands during questioning. A deeper dive into the Armory's logs revealed a second anomaly. Harlan had requested a code change on July 1, but Vasquez delayed it, citing system updates. The old code, 847392, remained active, giving her uninterrupted access. Was it oversight or intent? By July 16, the FBI expanded their net. The warehouse coordinates from the safe's envelope, 41.8781 degrees north, 87.6298 degrees west, led to a derelict building in the Loop, once a front for Thorne's trucking contacts. Inside, agents found tire tracks matching a Ford van and a single $100 bill, crisp and unmarked, caught in a floorboard. Kessler's team photographed it. Serial number F392481007B, part of the Armory's batch. But the warehouse was empty otherwise. No cash, no bodies. Police report, Chicago PD sweep, July 16. Warehouse shows signs of recent activity, no recoverable assets. The investigation's tempo quickened. Kessler interrogated Vasquez again, her composure fraying. You delayed the code change, he said, leaning forward. Why? She stammered. It was administrative backlog. But her diary, found in a warrant search, betrayed her. Thorne promised half. Enough to disappear with my boy. Harlan's role grew murkier. His financials showed unexplained deposits, $10,000 in May, $15,000 in June. small for a general but enough to raise flags. Was he complicit or a victim of his own negligence? His internal conflict surfaced in a tense call to his lawyer. If they dig deeper, they'll find more than they want. Riley, meanwhile, became a reluctant linchpin. His notebook detailed a third sighting. July 13, 1 a.m., a figure in a hooded jacket near the service entrance carrying a duffel. He hadn't reported it, fearing entanglement. Kessler pressed, "Why hold back?" Riley's voice cracked, "I'm nobody. Who'd believe me?" A technician analyzing the VHS tapes found a partial frame at 2:24 a.m., just before the glitch, showing a shadow moving in Harlan's office. Not Vasquez's silhouette but broader male. Thorne? Or an unknown player? The sensory details painted a vivid scene. The Armory's halls echoed with the clatter of typewriters, the air heavy with cigarette smoke and tension. Outside, Lake Michigan's waves crashed faintly, a counterpoint to the city's restless hum. The social context loomed large. 1983 Chicago was a city of divided loyalties, where military and municipal corruption fed public distrust. By July 18, Kessler's team uncovered a fourth twist. The burner phone's call log linked to a payphone near Thorne's old haunts, used at 2:20 a.m. on July 14. A voice recording recovered from a wiretap captured Thorne. "It's done. Move it to the river." The Chicago River became a new focus. Agents scoured its banks, finding nothing but driftwood and oil slicks. Vasquez's psychology unraveled further. A neighbor reported her burning papers in her backyard the night of July 15. Among the ashes, a fragment with Thorne's initials. Her moral dilemma peaked: betray Thorne, save myself? Or stay silent and lose my son? Harlan, under pressure, withdrew. His journal's final entry dated July 14. "The shadows are closing in. If I fall, it's because I trusted too much." Was he referring to Vasquez or a larger conspiracy? Riley's role shifted. Emboldened, he handed Kessler a Polaroid from his locker, snapped instinctively on July 13, showing the van's rear door ajar, a gloved hand visible. "I didn't know what I had," he admitted, guilt etched in his face. Archival note: FBI memo July 18. Suspect network likely includes military and civilian elements. River search ongoing. The investigation's rhythm pulsed with short, sharp beats. Agents' footsteps, the click of handcuffs, the rustle of evidence bags. Questions multiplied. Was the cash already laundered? Did Thorne have higher connections? Was Harlan a mastermind or a pawn? The cliffhanger loomed as Kessler received an anonymous tip on July 19. A grainy photo mailed to the FBI field office, showing a duffel bag on a riverbank half submerged. Scrawled on the back, "The river keeps its secrets. Ask Harlan about the second safe." A second safe? The revelation hung like a storm cloud. What else was hidden in the Armory's shadows? The Chicago skyline loomed under a bruised July sky in 1983, as the FBI's hunt for $20,900,000 in stolen cash reached a fever pitch. The anonymous tip, a photo of a duffel bag on the Chicago River's edge, with a cryptic note about a second safe, had turned the Illinois National Guard Armory heist into a labyrinth of betrayal, where every answer spawned new questions. Who was protecting whom and what lay buried in the shadows? By July 20, 1983, Special Agent Daniel Kessler's team scoured the Chicago River's south bank, where the tipster's photo pointed. The air was thick with the stench of diesel and mud, the water lapping against concrete pilings. At 6:17 a.m., divers pulled up a waterlogged duffel, empty, but its stitching matched the Armory's cash bundles. Fibers inside tested positive for ink traces from $100 bills. Kessler's jaw tightened. "They're playing with us." B-roll, diverse in murky river water hauling up the dripping bag, close up on Kessler's furrowed brow. The second safe clue gnawed at him. The Armory's blueprints showed no record of another vault, but Harlan's journal hinted at off-book storage. "The secondary cache is my insurance." Kessler ordered a structural sweep of the Armory, focusing on Harlan's office and sublevels. The historical context amplified suspicion. 1983's military scandals, from Iran-Contra to local kickbacks, suggested hidden compartments weren't unthinkable. The investigation's rhythm was relentless. The clatter of typewriters in the FBI field office, the hum of forensic equipment, the distant wail of city sirens. Chicago's political machine churned in the background, with whispers of aldermen shielding connected players. Public trust, already frayed, teetered as headlines screamed, "Armory Heist, inside job?" A maintenance log overlooked initially showed a plumbing repair in the Armory's basement on July 10, supervised by a contractor linked to Marcus Thorne's old firm. Was it a cover for scouting a second safe? Kessler's focus split across the players. General Robert Harlan, now on administrative leave, retreated to his Evanston home, a modest two-story shadowed by oaks. At 58, his career hung by a thread. During a tense July 21 interview, he deflected, "Another safe? Nonsense. I'd know." But his eyes darted, and Kessler noted a tremor in his hands. Harlan's psychology was a battlefield, pride warring with fear. A seized letter to his wife read, "Margaret, if I don't make it through this, know I tried to protect us." Captain Elena Vasquez cracked under pressure. On July 22, a wiretap caught her calling a burner phone. "Thorne, they're close." "I can't." The line cut off. Confronted with the diary fragment naming Thorne, she confessed partially, "I gave him the code, yes. But I didn't touch the cash." Her motive, saving her son, clashed with her betrayal. "I sold my soul for a chance at freedom." Kessler detained her, but her story felt incomplete. Marcus Thorne remained a ghost. A raid on his Pilsen hideout found only cigarette butts and a map of Chicago's waterways, circled at the river's South Fork. His psychology was cold calculus: strike fast, vanish faster. But a witness, a trucker at a dive bar, placed Thorne near the river on July 15, loading crates onto a small boat. The FBI impounded a vessel matching the description, finding traces of sand, identical to the dummy bags. Tom Riley, the janitor, became an unlikely pivot. His Polaroid of the van's gloved hand broke open new leads. On July 23, he admitted to Kessler, "I heard voices that night near the basement stairs. Thought it was guards." His moral struggle, loyalty to the Armory versus truth, tipped toward justice. His notebook added a detail: July 13, 1:30 a.m., metal clank like a door below. Reenactment of Riley sweeping the basement, pausing at a rusted hatch. Kessler studying the Polaroid under a magnifying glass. The Armory's basement sweep uncovered a hidden vault. A smaller mausoleum, 3 feet by 2 feet, concealed behind a false wall in a disused storage room. Its lock was jammed, but pry marks suggested recent tampering. Inside, empty, save for a single $100 bill, serial number matching the heist's batch. By July 25, the pieces aligned. The second safe, Harlan later admitted under oath, was his contingency, a stash for emergencies undocumented to avoid scrutiny. He claimed ignorance of its breach, but his financials told another story: $50,000 wired to an offshore account days after the heist. Kessler's theory hardened. Harlan wasn't the mastermind, but he'd known enough to look away. Vasquez's full confession came on July 26. In a tearful interrogation, she detailed Thorne's plan. She supplied the code and fob, he orchestrated the swap. The cash was split, half moved by boat to a warehouse in Indiana, half buried in a riverbank cache for later retrieval. Her cut was promised but never delivered. "Thorne used me," she whispered, "and I let him." Thorne's trail led to a sting operation. On July 28, FBI agents tracked him to a Gary, Indiana storage unit, where $10 million in cash was recovered, 500 bundles still in Armory packaging. Thorne, cornered, surrendered without a fight, his bravado gone. "You think this was about money?" he sneered. "It was about proving I could." His psychology revealed a man driven by ego, not greed. Riley's role clarified the final gaps. His basement noises pointed to Thorne's crew accessing the second safe, likely during the plumbing repair. The clank was the vault's door, forced open with a hydraulic jack. Riley, haunted, told Kessler, "I should have spoken up sooner. Maybe none of this happens." Archival note: FBI report, July 29, $10.4 million recovered, $10.5 million unaccounted. Suspects in custody, investigation ongoing. A forensic audit of the second safe revealed a microchip, early 1980s tech, embedded in the lock, logging access times. It recorded an unauthorized entry on July 12, 1:45 a.m., not by Vasquez's fob but Harlan's. Had he checked the safe or was he complicit? He denied it, but the evidence lingered. The sensory details grounded the climax. The Armory's basement smelled of damp concrete and rust, its dim bulbs flickering. The riverbank cache site buzzed with mosquitoes, the recovered cache damp with silt. Chicago's social fabric, corruption scandals, military mistrust, framed the heist as a symptom of deeper rot. By August 1983, the fallout reshaped lives. Harlan resigned, facing charges of negligence and possible embezzlement. His trial, set for 1984, exposed the slush fund's ties to covert operations, sparking congressional hearings. He died of a heart attack in 1985, before sentencing. His journal's final entry, "The Shadows won." Vasquez was sentenced to 7 years for conspiracy, her son placed with her sister. Her diary's last page, "I wanted to save him. I lost us both." She served 4 years, later vanishing into obscurity. Thorne received 15 years, his charisma useless in court. The missing $10.5 million was never found. Rumors pointed to offshore accounts or a sunken river cache. His final statement, "The game was worth it." Riley retired quietly, his testimony earning a small pension boost. He moved to Wisconsin, haunted by what he didn't say sooner. "I still hear that clank," he told a reporter in 1986.in 1984. A river dredge pulled up a steel box, locked empty, but engraved with coordinates matching the Armory. A taunt from Thorne, or a lost piece of the puzzle? It was never answered. The heist's legacy endured. The Armory tightened security, installing digital logs and biometric locks. Chicago's 1983 mayoral race saw candidates decry institutional decay, using the scandal as ammunition. The public, jaded, saw it as another betrayal in a city built on them. Montage of courtroom sketches, Harlan's resignation letter, cash stacks and evidence bags. Slow pan over the river at dusk. The moral dilemmas lingered, Harlan's trust versus Vasquez's desperation, Thorne's hubris versus Riley's silence. The Armory stood, its Gothic arches unmoved, but its shadows carried new weight. Kessler, closing the case, lit a final camel. "We got half the money, half the truth." That's Chicago. The river kept its secrets, and the vault's echo faded into history, until a 1987 anonymous letter to the FBI, scrawled in familiar script. "The rest is still out there. Look deeper." The case, officially closed, never truly ended.